Good afternoon. My name is June Coleman, and I'm the Director of Career Services here at Emporia State University. Today, we're going to cover important information about how to build that standout resume that people really want to read and they want to get you to the interview stage. Today, our key takeaways are covering really the purpose of a resume. What is the purpose? What is the value of a resume? We're going to cover the fundamentals of resume writing. So I'm going to talk you through some of the things you need to know when putting a resume together and what's important. Also, we're going to cover things that are important to employers, things like GPA and experience and skills. We're going to take a look at those top 10 skills that employers really value and help you understand how to market that on your resume. Next, I'm going to show you an actual sample of a resume so we can navigate the different categories and talk through and show you exactly those things that are important on a resume. Finally, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how you can connect with Career Services here at Emporia State and have our staff take a look at that resume and actually give you feedback on that resume before you ever send it out in a job search. Let's start with the purpose of a resume. Really, the purpose of a resume is to match your skills and experience to a particular company and position. It's not enough just to create a generic resume that doesn't make that match. So it's important to read that job description, take a look at the company mission, and understand where those two things connect, and then make sure that your resume articulates that. A resume also moves you to the next stage in the hiring process. You can't get to the interview stage until you've showcased a really solid resume. And finally, a resume really captures your ability to communicate and organize information. That comes through in a solid way on your written document. You need to think like a boss. So human resource managers get anywhere from 300 to 400 applicants for one single position. And they're really looking for any way to eliminate you from a search. Whether there are grammar errors or spelling errors, or you've left a digit off your phone number and they can't reach you. Those are all reasons to get yourself eliminated from an applicant pool. So understand that at first glance, that boss or hiring manager is looking for any way to eliminate you from that search. So it's important that you take lots of time and very critical eyes look at your document before you send it out. Resume fundamentals. Really, you're going to get a number of different opinions when you talk to different people about different resume advice. Even among our staff, we all have slightly different preferences, but we all agree on very essential things about a resume. Really, the average reader, the average employer takes about 20 to 30 seconds to read through your document, which means you have to grab their attention immediately. You have to use consistent font, you have to have a solid logical organization of information, and it needs to have visual appeal. You again need to grab the reader's attention and make it a document that is very easy to navigate. If an employer is getting caught up on red flags, if dates don't make sense, if it's in an order that doesn't make logical sense, it bogs them down. It takes them longer to read that document, and it leaves a negative impression on them. So again, a 20 to 30 second read, very quick read of that document, and it means it needs to be well organized and easy to navigate. Biggest mistakes on a resume, using a template. I can't tell you strongly enough that you need to start with your own original document. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Grammar and spelling is really critical, right? If you have grammar errors or spelling errors on your document, it tells me as an employer that you aren't very keen on catching details, right? Accuracy is not important to you. So that sends a strong negative message. Missing contact information or unprofessional contact information. So again, if I can't reach you, I'm not going to work hard to find that information. I'm just going to move on to the next applicant. Poor format and lack of consistency. We want to make sure that that font is very consistent, boldface, italics. There's a very professional appearance to your document. Again, that allows me to achieve that 20 to 30 second read. The ongoing debate is, should a resume be 1 page or 2 pages? Employers 99% of the time will tell us as a new graduate, they expect that document to be 1 page. Now, there might be times that you have extensive information that is relevant, that is important, and it's okay to go on to a 2nd page some of the time, right? But again, that's why you want people to look at this document. You want to have Career Services take a look at that document, pare it down, and we will get it to 1 page. So again, that 1 page is really important. One of the things I think is important to cover is there are required categories on a resume, and then there are optional categories. So I want you to think about those 2 sets of categories and determine for yourself what's going to market you out the best to an employer. What makes you unique and marketable? You need to focus on the top 10 employer skills, which we'll cover here in a minute, and you need to customize that resume every time that you send it out. Now, this takes time, right? But it goes a lot farther if you customize that document. You never want to take one master resume and just send it out to every position that you see. You want to customize it. You want to study that job description. You want to research that company or organization, and you want to create a document that is targeted and tailored exactly for that position. Common mistakes on a resume. Again, using a template, it's not unique and different. Those grammar errors, spelling, missing contact information, unprofessional format, sloppy, poor attention to detail, lack of consistency. These things will all get you actually eliminated from an applicant pool. Important tips for resumes. There it is again. Don't use a resume template. Most of the time, you want to remove your high school information. No, we don't need to put our high school diploma on there unless, let's say, for example, you are from Nebraska, you have come to Emporia State to study, and you're going to go back to Nebraska to do your job search. It might be relevant for you to put your high school education on there because it means that you're more likely to stay. You're from that state, you have connections there. In that way, it might be a networking tool for you. Most of the time it is not, right? You want to remove that. Your degree title here must be correct, right? So if you're getting a Bachelor of Fine Arts with an engraving arts concentration, that's how you should say that on your resume, right? It should be exactly correct, the degree title that you are earning here. No misspellings or grammar errors, and employment dates should be correct, right? And you'll see that on the sample. Contact information should be current and professional. Now let's break this down into required and optional categories. And I think this eliminates a lot of confusion for students as they're putting a resume together. What has to be on there, right? We get that question a lot. There's 3 categories that have to be on there: contact information, education, experience. So at a minimum, those 3 categories have to be on your resume. So let's start there, and I think we can all agree on that. But next, we've got some optional categories, and some of these you've actually seen on various resumes. Maybe they're on your resume as well. Leadership. What we're going to see is that's one of the top 10 things that employers look for is leadership experience. So we want to talk about that. In fact, that can be one of your targeted headings on your resume. They certainly want to see involvement. They want to see certifications. If you have a CNA, if you have CPR certification, first aid, sometimes those things are important to put on there. Community service. An employer very much cares and values community service. It shows your motivation, right? It shows what motivates you. You want to give back. So if I hire you as my employee, I can count on you to step up and take on additional responsibilities whenever it's asked of you. An objective is optional. That is not required. Sometimes it focuses the resume on a particular position, so you might choose to put an objective on there. Qualification and skills section. Now this, again, has to be unique and different if you're going to put that on there. Many times we see sample resumes come in from students, and they're not unique skills at all. The skills section might be strong people person, love to work with animals, love to golf and ski. those things are not relevant to a position, right? But if you want to say something very specific, 3 years solid customer service experience. Okay, now I'm paying attention, right? I care about that. That's a skill that I'm looking for, and you've quantified it. You've put a number of years on that particular skill. That's an example of a skill that would be valuable to an employer, and it's very specific. Here's our magic list of top 10 things employers are looking for. And as you can see, they relate to every single major. It's not like you can pick one major and you're going to gain all 10 of these skills. This really comes out of your experience, your involvement here at Emporia State, your community service, your work experience, right? So if we know this is the top 10, I strongly encourage you to make sure these skills are listed in your experience section. So when you go to describe a job that you've had working retail, you want to make sure that you're talking about problem solving. You're talking about analytical skills. You're talking about your technical skills, because we know employers want to see those on a resume. So keep those in mind as you put your resume together. Now let's take a look at a sample resume. Here's an example of a sample resume that Career Services has put together. And again, we're going to walk you through several of these elements of this sample resume. As you can see on this sample, we have both required categories and we have optional categories. And I'll show you how that works. Take the contact information at the top. Very professional, well organized. It includes full contact information for this candidate. You have the option to not include the mailing address if you want to do that. Some people choose to leave that off for security reasons, or they just don't want people to know their mailing address. Not a problem. Most things are mobile anymore. So you're fine to just put the city and state, the phone number, and your email address. Next, we have an objective, optional category, right? An objective creates a resume that is targeted for a specific position. So as you can see from this objective, it states the position to which they're applying, the organization name, and it markets out their skills just a little bit in that objective. Again, optional category, but it can pack a punch if you want to put that on there. Next, we have qualifications. Again, an optional category. But as you can see, this list of qualifications is unique and different about this candidate. It is based on the skills that we know employers are looking for, and it can be a good option for this particular candidate. Now we move to education. As you can see from the degree title, it is accurate and correct. Our School of Business is AACSB accredited. Only the top 5% of all schools of business in the world have this accreditation. It distinguishes us. So I would encourage you, if you're in the School of Business and getting your degree there, to list that on there. But any one of our majors, dig a little deeper and ask your faculty, is there any accreditation that you'd recommend I would throw on this resume? You list just your month and year of graduation. Do not put anything else on there. Expected graduation, anticipated, any of those additional words. If you have extra words on there, it takes me longer than 30 seconds to read your document. If you just list a month and year of graduation, I know what that means. If you have minors or concentration areas, you want to be sure and put them on there as well. If your GPA is 3.0 or higher, you should list that on your resume. If it is not, you need to make it a goal to get above that 3.0. And you can actually also put your major GPA, which is typically higher than your cumulative, on here as well. Next on our sample, you're going to see an internship category. So you can actually take your experience section and you can divide it up into special kind of topics or areas that you want to, right? So you can break down your experience section if that's what works for you. If you send your resume into our staff in Career Services, we're going to help you figure that out. On this one, what you're going to see anytime you list your experience is there's a standard format to follow. Job title, name of the organization, location, dates of employment. Those things have to be with every experience that you list on your resume. That's a format that you have to follow. Then you want to list at least 1 to 3 to 4 bullets under each of those experiences. Each bullet should begin with what's called a strong action verb: provide, complied, helped, responsible for. Those kinds of words are all strong action verbs. So you want to get all of your first person or third person language off of your document. It's just strong action verb, description of what you did. And if you can include some results, right? Something that is a big achievement with that particular task, that's even better. What you want to pay attention to is past tense and present tense. For a job you're currently doing, present tense verbs. For a job that you've already completed, past tense verbs. Believe it or not, again, that's one of those things that employers are looking for, that strong attention to detail. So as we move down this sample resume, you'll see additional experience listed here. This is the format that you need to use. Now we're continuing on. We've got our required categories on our document: contact information, education, experience. Now we've got sort of icing on the cake, right? What else does this candidate bring to the position that might be unique and different? Certainly technical skills. This is an IS related sample. Employers expect to see technical skills. If you are in a science-based field, they expect to see laboratory skills. If you are in a fine arts area, they expect to see proficiency with even certain literature in the field of music, certain mediums in the field of art. So you want to be very specific to make sure that they know you have a strong skill set in the area in which you're studying. Collegiate athletics, right? Employers love to see that because it automatically implies a series of strong skills: time management, discipline, flexibility, goal setting. All those great things that come with playing college sports is implied just by listing athletics. So you'll see that here on this document as an optional category. Memberships. Hopefully you've joined 1 or 2 different organizations on campus. Perhaps you've joined statewide student chapters of organizations. Very important to put on there. Finally, you're going to see community service. Community service, again, as we talked about at the beginning, is very important to an employer for all of those intrinsic motivation reasons. I would not spend, 10 lines describing your community service. In our sample, what you'll see is I just want to know the numbers of hours that you've completed and maybe an area that you've focused on. So completed over 200 community service hours with various student organizations. Great, that's all I need to know. So that's our sample. And again, based on your experience, there might be additional categories that you want to list on your sample, but this is a great start for getting familiar with what that resume should look like. Finally, I want to talk about next steps. So as we've gone through this presentation, we've laid out information on the fundamentals of resume writing, things to keep in mind, ways to achieve that 20 to 30-second read, skills employers are looking for, and ways that you can quickly get yourself eliminated in a pool of applicants. Now I want to motivate you to take your next step, and that is having someone look at your resume. Career Services provides resume reviews all the time. In fact, it's a majority of the services that we provide for students and alumni. How to connect with that is you want to log into Hornet 365 and you'll see a handshake tile. This handshake tile is what you click on, and then you enter your ESU credentials to log into Handshake. Handshake is the platform that Career Services uses for all of our career management related services that we provide. You're going to find career fairs listed in Handshake. You will schedule all appointments with our staff through Handshake. And you can look for jobs and internships 24/7 in Handshake as well. Once you get into Handshake, you're going to see a resources tab. which is how you actually can view some of these resume samples in your particular field. You will also see lots of other information, questions to anticipate with a behavior-based interview, how to set up a mock interview with our staff, how to navigate your job search, how to negotiate salary or multiple offers, and also how to choose your major. If you're concerned you're in the wrong major, set up an appointment with our staff and we'd be glad to help you with career testing and figuring out your major. So really that's once you're in Handshake, then you just hit schedule an appointment and we can set you up for an appointment with our staff. And again, we'll take a look at that resume, give you feedback, and then you're ready to go. But please don't ever send that resume out until someone has looked at your document and made sure that you've caught all those errors. If you have any questions, please feel free to connect with Career Services. We're happy to help, and good luck.